So with basketball season about to kick off, something that I love to keep an eye on with both the NBA and the NFL is how our schedule release is usually like a big production. It's become a thing over the last 3 to 4 years about the internal content studios of each team, kind of blows it out the water, really hypes up the season by doing something high production, high budget. And so something I got to work on really closely this season, which I'm really proud of, is our schedule release for the San Antonio Spurs season. I've got to do a cool collaboration with this Instagram and TikTok food influencer. Her at is Jacob's Food Diary. Jacob's actually her son. She's a mom who lives in Australia. Her name is Laleh Mohammadi. I hope I pronounced that right. But she has garnered over 300,000 followers just by making like art from food. So like purely something that started out as entertaining her 10-year-old son at the time. She started sharing it. The Facebook moms loved it and asked for more of it. So she did more and more elaborate food art. And so one of our marketing guys internally flagged this, like found this as a potential great collaboration for us. And basically she did all the heavy lifting, which was great, like all the food art. She essentially did a stop motion of her creating each of the plates and then at the end kind of messing them up. And so really I was able to just do a fun edit and resize and re-edit per platform what will grab the eye on each platform. But yeah, it did really well. What was really cool about collaborating with this influencer is that obviously we're in very like separate markets. If it's a Venn diagram, there's probably not a lot of overlap in our followers. You're probably having a largely female demographic for her, probably people in their 30s, 40s who are looking for food inspiration or honestly just entertainment, because it's really entertaining to see and she like makes Disney characters all the time out of her food. So you have like a really unique audience, and then you have probably a more male dominated field. Our followers on Instagram are largely male, largely in the 24 to 34-year-old range. And so it's kind of cool to see like two very different audiences be able to pool together and like benefit from each other's follower base. And something that I love about getting to do branded content or collaborations like this is that you slap the old logo on the top right corner, the little bug on the top right corner. And a lot of times, our eye is now trained to pick up on when we're seeing ads or branded content. Something like this is really cool because it feels very natural, and you get like, obviously she's benefiting from the Spurs brand, we're benefiting from her brand, but you're not seeing like this, very corporate company, in the
Yeah,
corner,
it
and
does
it's
feel a
like,
little bit more like user-generated content, which is really
yes,
cool. I think that was what attracted my eye to it. Actually, as you're talking about all the demos, I'm like, oh yeah, it's a female, like, 30 to 40, like age range, like a
yeah.
mom cooking, stuff, all those kind of like hit. And then so when it crossed my like demo, I was like, whoa, that's actually really cool that like that an NBA team is doing that, because obviously for me, it's like, oh, it's a dude thing, like whatever. Um, so when it crossed my feed, I was like, oh my God, this is like actually really cool. It's really neat, seeing like the different, logos. The fact that she was able to do that with food, like what?
Crazy.
Which just kind of shows just how artistic, she is. But it was a new way of, putting the NBA in a context that I usually don't see it. Plus, being a Lakers fan, I'm just like, whatever. I don't pay attention to other, um, teams. One thing I also want to shout out is I have started to see a lot more sports teams put effort into trying to engage with women.
Mm.
Obviously, I think that's partly, the Taylor Swift effect, where it's like you have more women paying attention to the NFL, and seeing what's going on there with like, merch being sold out, for women, and like them actively participating and like wanting to go to the games and like show up to bars and like support the teams. I'm sure all the other sports teams were like, well, shit, we need to get more women involved and like try to attract them in some way. So I really like that they're making an effort to like, get in front of women. With content that's, a little bit more for them, sure, but then also very appealing visually to men as well. Like, if you can you share anything of like if you have seen more engagement from women since that post?
That was a great question. I mean, to your point, I feel like even food itself is universal, right? So
Hmm.
it's not necessarily like, oh, this is more inclined towards women, but we do have an all female social team, which is dope because, moments like Taylor Swift's engagement, like
Mhm.
they're like, okay, how can we hop on this in the next like 5 minutes? And so
Mhm.
it is right, like more inviting of like maybe the woman who's like, yeah, like I'll watch basketball if it's on or if it's in a
Mhm.
social setting, but I don't really know any of the players. Like it's like drawing in right like the peripheral audience and
Mhm.
bringing them in and interesting them, and then like maybe they'll slowly go down the marketing funnel, you know, and become
Right.
diehards one day.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean,
um,
that's the goal, right?
yeah, yeah. Something that I think is super interesting too is like how do you stay true to your core audience while also like branching out, right? Like for sure, the conversation of like women in sports is a huge conversation
Mhm.
going on right now, and it's the female sports themselves are growing a ton, but even like you said, inviting women into male sports and like the fans, they've been there all along, like, they
Mhm.
just need, like, the accessibility and permission, right? A lot of times, like, some people have been gatekeeping of, like, "Oh, like, you can't know about basketball, name the starting 5
Right.
or name 3 guys on the team." I
Mhm.
saw this tweet the other day that was like, "Name the head coach's son's blood type." Like, that's the kind of things that you
Yeah.
get asked as a woman who's interested in sports, and you're like, "Do you even know?"
Yeah, right?
Yeah, so it's like, how do you stay true to, like, that core demographic while also reaching out? Because 'Cause we've had some times where it's like, "This is not a this is not a Taylor Swift fan account, like, what are y'all saying?" Like,
Mm.
or, you know, so it's like, how do you appeal to both without, like, going too far? So I feel
Mhm.
like this was a great, like, middle ground of, like, no side is like, "This is too niche for me," you know?
Mhm.
I think what's also cool is that it's like you guys use the opportunity to also elevate the NBA as a whole, right?
Mhm.
Because it wasn't just, hey, can you make some food that is branded like the Spurs? It was more than that. And I think that also lends itself really nicely to it being very much shared and amplified because anybody who cares about basketball has a reason to care about this video.
Yeah, because the point is showing the schedule of, like, who they would be playing is, like, the concept.
Yeah, I mean, most of the time, the production of those videos is not, like, for informational value, like, most people are going to the graphic, right, where it's
Mm.
super clearly laid out. This is more just for entertainment, right, and building hype. And something too I wanted to add to, Sonia, your point of, talking about the LA Lakers, they actually had one of my favorites too. They did, like, a junk journal, which is, like, kind of a newer thing I feel like women on TikTok are starting to do is, like, junk journaling.
Mm.
It's where you like take small items and almost like scrapbook them, and so like making the small moments bigger. Like my mom would scrapbook growing up, but it would
Mhm.
be like for birthdays or piano recitals or big events like that. But this one is like, oh, you go to the movie theaters with your friends, like save the ticket stubs, tape them in there, and maybe you see Freakier Friday, and it's like, okay, let's get a Freakier Friday sticker in there. Maybe print out the selfie we took in the theater, and like that's the concept of junk journaling. So it's kind of cool to see like that did really well for the Lakers, and that's very like trendy, and that was a topic of conversation that week. And
Mhm.
then ours is like a little more evergreen of like food is always interesting, food is always tasty. So it's kind of cool to see like the different routes people took with it.
Yeah, I mean, we called out earlier this year when they brought in Brenda Song for to do like the LA Clippers. I forget what it was, but she was doing some sort of like fake news show with like the LA Clippers because she's like a huge fan and has always been like at the sidelines. And there, a lot of people had talked about how like, hey, you have like a really famous fan that like a lot of women like you should do something. And then when they did the collaboration, we were like, oh look. So I think it like gives people this incentive to be paying attention. And we've talked about this before. Something we've been calling forensic fandom, where it's like you're giving people reasons to look for clues through like different things. We usually talk about it in the context of movies, right? We talked about how Superman did the Full House like TikTok, where they did the mannequin like challenge with like the stars and stuff. But here we're also starting to see that in sports as well. So I think it's like really cool that it's like it's no longer enough to just be putting out a picture or a graphic or just like tweeting about, the sports. Now, a lot of what I'm seeing sports teams do is put together these types of like collaborations and like bring in influencers and bring in, celebrities that they know are like fans in order to talk about the sport in a different way and not just always be talking about the sport. It's a way of like showing how sports are a daily part of many people's lives and how it fits into that, as opposed to just like the game is on and that's all we're talking about, right? One other thing that this, brings to mind is that we had like previously talked about how sports teams have to find ways to clip what's going on like at the game, or like putting out what the score is really fast, because if they're not doing it, fans are doing it. So fans are creating their own clips and their own gifs and all this. And if the sports teams aren't doing that, they're losing engagement from like millions of fans who would be sharing and engaging with their content. So I'm seeing that like sports teams are having to like really work fast to like create that content. So if you have any insights into that, would love to know like how it is, like, when a game is when a game is going on and you're having to like respond and engage with like, people and create that content like super quickly.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a real thing, like, it's your owned media, you should be the first to put that out,
Mhm.
on your account. We talk about that all the time of, like, our competitor is not only, like, the opponent that we're playing on the court, but, like, it's the NBA accounts, it's the Bleacher Report accounts, like,
Mhm.
obviously, anything that they talk about to amplify us is a win for us, but if we can put out the original content first,
Mhm.
like, then we garner the engagement, and that's a win for us. So, yeah, we talk about, like, getting stuff down to the minute and the second all the time when it comes to game coverage, like, how quickly can you give me that clip? Like, as soon as the play has happened, like, 2 minutes later, it's irrelevant, right? Because maybe there was another greater play or greater dunk, and so you're really racing against the clock and people's, like, attention span too. So all the time, like, we talk about how do we get that number down? How do we get it uploaded faster? So we've played around with like, okay, do we do phone footage? Like, do we have one videographer, like they're on their phone, they're sending it to the social team to post like right away? Because that's obviously easier, right? It's on your iPhone already, versus you have three other videographers who have a traditional cinema camera and they're going to have to discharge the SD card and go run to their laptop, plug it in, run it through Premiere Pro or Final Cut Pro, color it, resize it 9 by 16 for reels, export, and then by that time it's like, if you're doing it leisurely, it's like 7 to 10 minutes, but now we're trying to like get it faster and faster. Like, can we get it down to 2? Can we get it down to 3 minutes to where like a crazy dunk that like we want it to go viral, like it boom, it's up and you're like running to the next play. Like it's optimizing all the time.
Yeah.
That sounds super stressful.
I
It really
know.
does.
It really is
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I want to ask though, like, so you have to act fast. Like you
Mhm.
you have to, right? There's no other choice. When you're doing this, like with anything, how do you decide what's good enough? Like, do you have like a
Yeah.
framework or heuristic that you have in mind for how quickly to make decisions? Like, are there times that you make trade offs of like, this doesn't
Yeah.
look that high quality, but if we can get it done now, I'm not waiting 3 more minutes for this? Like, how
Yeah,
does that work?
100%. Yeah, I think there's a spectrum of people, right? Like, sometimes my team can be very like, "Oh, like, we want it to be the most cinematic, the most beautifully colored and stuff," and then people on the other end are like, "We just have to get it up fast." The average person maybe doesn't care if it's in 4K quality, like, they just
Mhm.
wanna see it. So, it's constantly balancing that, but I think really knowing the game of basketball really well is super important, and obviously, we're always in communication, we're messaging on teams throughout the game, like, "Hey, is this worth running? Hey, is this not?" But usually the first and second quarter, it has a much slower pace, right? Like, it doesn't feel like the game is on the line yet, right? There's still, like, lots of minutes of basketball to be played. So maybe, like, okay, like a three-pointer, like, cool, like, if you get it, like, if there's a timeout right after, cool, send it, but, like, no rush, and so you kinda have to, like, know the storyline of what's going on, so, like, is it our best play like, one of our best players, like, and therefore gonna get more engagement? Is it someone off the bench who, like, fans aren't necessarily, like, really fond of, and so it's like, "Alright, we could probably do without that," or that player's been really struggling the last few games, and now they're on a hot streak of shooting, like, okay, well, we need to show them some love. And so we're always in conversation with PR about like, what does the story need to be? Like, maybe there's something we wouldn't necessarily stop and run, but PR is like, hey, that was actually their 8,000th career assist. Like, let's send it. And it's like, okay, great. Like, that's great to know those storylines. But yeah, when it comes down to the fourth quarter or even overtime, like, Any big plays, like run it, run it, run it, which is why we've come down to a team of 4 videographers is, well, while you're running a great play, someone else is still staying out there, and shooting in case while you're running it, you miss something. So we've kind of learned how to tag team well to not miss the moment.
Wow. Is that for videographers just for social, or is this like the for marketing in general?
Both. So obviously social in the moment is priority, but yeah, we'll use it for marketing purposes in the future. I would say 80% of the things that we shoot are going to a social media channel.
So how big is your team? Like, yeah, just you're talking about, team members here and you have the videographers and you have like the social people. So how, like, yeah, how big is the team and how is that structured?
That is a great question. We have 6 content producers. We're really videographers and editors. That's our primary
Mhm.
responsibilities. And then we have an assistant director and a director of content. And then that is our like content studio team. And then adjacent to that, really closely, is our social strategy team, and that is 3 so, well, 3 coordinators slash social media managers, and then like the director of social media. So, we rotate on a schedule for game days. So you have 4 of us content producers working and 2 social media personnel.
That's amazing. It's funny. Yeah. So Amanda and I have always like, I don't know, we have more time to like, respond. And when we talk about, oh, having to be online, it's never like this quickly, of like having to respond and like just kind of know what's going to work, what's not going to work. So it's like super impressive to like, meet the people that are like, I guess, actively out there doing the work, and that's one of the things that has become more impressive to me as I've been paying attention to sports a little bit more is like how quickly things are like coming out and realizing that the biggest thing is you're fighting against is like, your users' attention, right? Because if they're not gonna like, pay attention and they're not gonna share it and they're not gonna engage with it, then like it ultimately becomes like, well, why did we do all that for? you know? So the like fact that you're getting that real time like response from people is like wild.
Yeah,
So
it
many of us
really
have
takes.
to wait so long to get that
Yeah, you're like
feedback back.
refreshing your feed, like the play just happened. Where is it? I need to
Yeah.
rewatch it.
Yeah, 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 for sure. Um,
I have one more question for Caitlin. So,
yeah.
Caitlin, if there's one personality trait or quality that someone needs in order to be a sports social media manager or content creator,
Oof,
what do you think that is?
that's hard. Maybe like flexibility and adaptability. I don't know. There's a lot of times where things will not go the way that you want them to, and you have to think on your feet, whether that's like, oh man, we've been on a 5-game losing streak. How do I spin this to be positive? Or it's like, okay, we have this player and they're gonna do a community event or meet fans or do something, and it's really run and gun. Like a lot of times, I would love to be able to have a studio set up. And 2 hours to put equipment out, light the set, bring them in, mic the player, and a lot of times it's more run and gun. It's on the go, and so having to like be like, okay, what can I pull from this? If the event didn't go how you planned, or you only get like a minute with the player, like you just really have to like think on your feet. And then I think if I could sneak in a second a second attribute is like be a really great storyteller. Yeah, and there's a lot of times where you have to like just really like milk something out and be like what is the very very basic of this story, because stories and moments are what captures people's attention, and if you just throw like stats at them or a bunch of highlights and stuff, like you're not standing out from the noise on social media. So you really have to work to concentrate down what's the story and like grab people's attention, right? In an economy where we have like a 3-second attention span.
Mhm.
So that's definitely difficult.